Right now, as you're watching this video, there could be a tiny molecular battle happening inside your skin cells, a battle that determines whether you'll develop skin cancer decades from now. And scientists just figured out the secret weapon your body uses to win this fight. But here's the twist. Every time you get a sunburn, you're destroying that weapon. Hey there, curious minds. Welcome back to Mind and Marvel, where we break down the latest scientific discoveries that are literally changing our understanding of the human body. Today, we're diving into groundbreaking research just published in November 2025 from the University of Chicago, and it might just change how you think about sunscreen forever. Here's what we know. Every year, over 5.4 million Americans are diagnosed with skin cancer. More than 90% of those cases, they're linked to UV exposure from the sun. We've always known that sunburns are bad news, but we didn't fully understand the molecular chain reaction that turns a painful sunburn into cancer decades later. Until now. Scientists have discovered a protein called YTHDF2. Think of it as your skin's bouncer, and when UV rays destroy this protein, they literally open the door for cancer to develop. But the story goes way deeper than that, and it involves everything from molecular mail carriers to ancient immune sensors hiding in the wrong parts of your cells. Alright, let's start with the star of our story, YTHDF2. I know it sounds like a serial number for a robot, but this protein is actually your skin's first line of defense against cancer. Imagine your cells are like a nightclub. YTHDF2 is the bouncer standing at the door, checking IDs, and making sure only the right molecules get in. But instead of checking driver's licenses, YTHDF2 is looking for something called M6A. That's a chemical tag that marks certain RNA molecules. Now here's where it gets interesting. When you go outside and UV rays from the sun hit your skin, they don't just cause that painful redness and peeling. They're waging war at the molecular level. And one of their first casualties, our bouncer, YTHDF2. Professor Yu Ying, he and her team at the University of Chicago, discovered something remarkable. When they removed YTHDF2 from skin cells in the lab and then exposed those cells to UV radiation, the inflammatory response went absolutely haywire. It was like removing the bouncer from the nightclub. Chaos ensued. But why does this matter? Well, inflammation isn't just about pain and redness. While a little inflammation is good, it helps your body fight infections and heal wounds. Chronic inflammation is like throwing gasoline on a campfire. It creates an environment where damaged cells can survive when they should die, accumulate more mutations, and eventually turn cancerous. Think about it like this. Imagine you have a city with crime-fighting police officers. YTHDF2 is like the police chief. When UV radiation takes out the chief, the criminal elements, in this case, inflammatory signals, run wild. And, in that chaos, damaged cells that should be eliminated slip through the cracks and start causing problems. Now here's where this discovery gets even more mind-blowing. The researchers didn't just find out that YTHDF2 was important, they uncovered an entire secret delivery system inside your cells that nobody knew existed. Remember how I said YTHDF2 checks molecular IDs? Well, it's specifically checking a molecule called U6SNRNA. Under normal circumstances, U6 hangs out in the nucleus of your cell. That's the command center where your DNA lives. It has a job to do there, and it usually stays put. But when UV radiation damages your skin and YTHDF2 levels drop, something bizarre happens. The U6 RNA starts showing up in completely the wrong place, in cellular compartments called endosomes. This is like finding your mail carrier delivering letters in your basement instead of your mailbox. It's just wrong. And here's the kicker. The research team discovered that U6 doesn't just randomly wander into endosomes. There's actually a protein called SDC2 that acts like a corrupted postal worker, deliberately carrying U6 to the wrong address. And YTHDF2? It usually travels along with this delivery to make sure everything stays under control. But when UV rays destroy YTHDF2, there's no supervision. The system goes rogue. So what happens when U6 RNA shows up in endosomes? It bumps into something called toll-like receptor 3, or TLR3. Now TLR3 is part of your immune system. It's designed to detect foreign RNA from viruses and sound the alarm. But when your own U6 RNA shows up in the wrong place, TLR3 can't tell the difference. It thinks your body is under attack. Imagine you're a security guard, and you normally see a coworker in the office during business hours. No problem, but if you see that same coworker sneaking around the warehouse at 3 a.m., you're hitting the alarm button, right? That's exactly what TLR3 does. It triggers a massive inflammatory response. The same response it would use to fight off a virus, except there's no virus. Your immune system is basically attacking itself. And this chronic, misguided inflammation, that's the fertile ground where cancer seeds are planted. So, we've got UV radiation destroying our bouncer protein, rogue RNA molecules being delivered to the wrong places, and immune sensors freaking out. But how does all of this actually lead to cancer years or even decades later? This is where the research gets really important for understanding your personal risk. When you get a sunburn, you're not just dealing with temporary pain and peeling, you're creating lasting damage at the DNA level. UV radiation directly attacks the genetic code in your skin cells. Your cells have repair mechanisms. Think of them as molecular maintenance crews, and they fix most of the damage, but not all of it. Every sunburn is like a game of Russian roulette with your DNA. Some damaged cells get repaired correctly. Some damaged cells die off, which is actually a good thing. It prevents them from causing problems. But some damaged cells, they survive with permanent mutations in their DNA. Now here's the crucial part. One sunburn doesn't usually cause cancer by itself. It's the accumulation of damage over time that's the problem. Each sunburn adds more mutations, more inflammatory signals, more cellular chaos. It's like cracks in a dam. One crack isn't catastrophic, but dozens of cracks spreading over years. Eventually, that dam is going to fail. And remember our missing bouncer, YTHDF2, every time it gets destroyed by UV exposure, that chronic inflammation we talked about creates an environment where those damaged, mutated cells have a better chance of surviving and multiplying. Instead of being eliminated, they're essentially protected by the inflammatory chaos around them. The researchers found that this isn't just theory. When they looked at cancer cells, they saw elevated levels of that misplaced U6 RNA interacting with TLR3 in endosomes, exactly the pattern that leads to cancer-promoting inflammation. Think of it like this. Imagine you're trying to grow a garden. Your normal healthy skin is like good, clean soil. A sunburn is like contaminating that soil with salt and toxins. You might not notice anything wrong immediately. The ground looks the same, but plant a seed in that contaminated soil, and what grows? Weeds, invasive plants, things you don't want. In your skin, those weeds are cancer cells, and the loss of YTHDF2, combined with chronic inflammation, is the contaminated soil they need to thrive. Here's the sobering reality. According to the research, more than 90% of skin cancer cases are directly linked to UV exposure. And studies have shown that even 5 sunburns in a decade increases your risk of certain skin cancers by more than double. 5 sunburns. That's barely once every 2 years. But here's the hopeful part. Now that scientists understand this molecular pathway, the YTHDF2 protein, the rogue U6 RNA, the TLR3 alarm system, they can start developing targeted therapies. Imagine treatments that could boost YTHDF2 levels, or block that corrupted delivery system, or calm down TLR3 when it's reacting to your own molecules instead of real threats. Okay, so what does all this molecular biology actually mean for you? Let's bring it back to Earth. First, the obvious. Prevention is everything. Every sunburn counts. Every single one adds to your cumulative damage. This isn't about fear-mongering. It's about understanding that when you skip sunscreen, or spend hours at the beach without protection, you're not just risking temporary discomfort. You're literally destroying protective proteins in your cells and triggering inflammatory pathways that can persist for decades. Second, timing matters. Research shows that sunburns during childhood and adolescence are particularly dangerous because cells are dividing more rapidly during growth years. More cell division means more opportunities for mutations to be copied and spread. But, and this is important, adult sunburns still count. The study found that sunburns at any age increase cancer risk. Third, it's not just about burning. Even if you're someone who tans easily and never burns, you're still getting UV damage. You're still potentially degrading YTHDF2. You're still accumulating DNA mutations. Burning is just the most visible sign of damage, not the only sign. So, what can you actually do? Number 1. Sunscreen. And I'm not talking about that SPF 15 you put on once at the beginning of the day. The research supports using SPF 30 to 50, applied generously, and reapplied every 2 hours, especially if you're swimming or sweating. Number 2. Physical barriers. Wide-brimmed hats, UV protective clothing, seeking shade during peak UV hours, which are typically 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. These aren't just suggestions, they're molecular damage prevention strategies. Number 3. Check your moles. Regular skin checks can catch abnormal changes early. If you have a history of sunburns, especially blistering burns, talk to a dermatologist about monitoring. And here's something fascinating. The researchers specifically mentioned that this discovery opens doors for new treatments. We might see therapies that boost YTHDF2 levels, or drugs that prevent that rogue U6-TLR3 interaction. We're not there yet, but understanding the mechanism is always the first step toward treatment. The bottom line? Your skin has an incredible molecular defense system. YTHDF2 and other protective proteins work 24/7 to keep you safe. But UV radiation is their kryptonite. And once you understand what's happening at the molecular level, the bouncer being eliminated, the rogue deliveries, the false alarms triggering inflammation, it becomes a lot easier to take prevention seriously. And that's the incredible story of how scientists cracked the code on sunburn-induced cancer. From a single protein called YTHDF2 to rogue RNA molecules triggering false alarms in your cells, this research published in November 2025 has given us a molecular roadmap of how UV damage transforms into cancer risk over decades. Think about it. Right now, researchers are working on therapies that could target each step of this pathway. We're living in an era where we're not just treating cancer after it develops, we're understanding how to prevent it at the molecular level before it even starts. But until those treatments become available, the best technology we have is still prevention, sunscreen, shade, and vigilance. Your molecular bouncer YTHDF2 is counting on you. If you found this breakdown fascinating, do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe to Mind and Marvel, and drop a comment letting me know what you think. Should we dive deeper into other cancer prevention mechanisms? Do you want to see more molecular biology breakdowns? Let me know. Thanks for watching, Curious Minds. Until next time, stay curious, stay protected, and keep marveling at the incredible science happening inside your body right now.